All right, welcome to the June 5th TC54 call. Let me pull up the agenda real quick. I know I had it. I literally just had it. Where'd it go? There it is. Now, where's my share button? There we go. All right. So we have a fairly packed agenda for today. Because we're reviewing the previous minutes, which was a while ago, it looks like. That meeting never actually happened, so this is actually from the 3rd. Looks like Matt's joining us now too. Hopefully everybody has had an opportunity to read the March minutes. We did not have a meeting in April, if everyone recalls. So hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to kind of read through this. If there's any objections, let me know. All right. With that, let's go ahead and approve those. No new attendees today. Thank you, Matt, for joining. I had one really brief announcement. I just wanted to kind of say thank you to both the OWASP Foundation and to Ecma for co-sponsoring a hackathon that took place in Barcelona last week. Ole Johansson actually led that hackathon, and I think we're going to be working on a summary report, Ole, right?
Yes.
And it was interesting because we learned a lot during the event. We didn't learn what we thought we were going to learn, but what we did learn was incredibly valuable. So we're going to be working on a summary. Ole, I'd also like to publish that on the OWASP blog, on the OWASP.org website. So let's kind of work together and get that done. But a huge thank you to Ecma and for OWASP for hosting the event.
Can you just give oh, sorry. Can you give just like one example of what you learned that you didn't expect to learn?
Ole?
Well, that was more Steve. What we learned is we didn't expect that we needed a network that we actually could connect between laptops, but we do. People had software on the laptops that they wanted others to connect to, and on the public Wi-Fi you can't. But also that we were in a very early state. We released the beta late, so we didn't have as many implementations. The hackathon will be very different when we have more applications to test. We also learned, we had a discussion about principles for, I would say, privacy or Chatham House rules for the tests. For the commercial actors, they were very happy when we said that, well, what happens is this room will be anonymized. So we want to get feedback on the protocols and the specifications, but we're not after highlighting problems in certain implementations. We want to find why different developers parsed the rules differently and try to sort that problem.
Jan, you had your hand up?
Yep, actually we just reviewed the wrong minutes because the April minutes are not yet online as far as I see. They are in our document that we're currently writing.
Oh, they are? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
that's
the link
my
was
bad.
correct. The link was correct, but the document didn't exist yet.
Oh, wonderful. That's my mistake then. Okay. I will make a note then to for the next TC54 call, we will review 2 sets of minutes then. We will review April's, so there's no meeting in May then, right? Yeah, no meeting in May. So we'll review April's and then we'll review June's. Okay. All right, I'll make that change to the next agenda as well. Thank you, Jan. Appreciate it. I'm going to go a little bit out of order, and if we don't get to this, I think that's okay. I really want Samina to be here for this one because this is a proposal to form TG4, which is a new specification for OSS sustainability. Originally, we thought that this was going to be part of CycloneDX, but it became evident early on that this really needs to be its own specification. And the goal here is to really switch from the existing community work, which is fairly small, into a dedicated TG just for this task. And I really want Samina to be here for that. If you haven't read the proposal, I'd highly suggest everyone kind of read through it between now and the next time we meet. That way we're all kind of prepared to answer questions and that sort of thing.
So what is it, which is the proposal is the first one?
Yeah, this is the Word doc that is the scope and program of work.
Mm.
So we've been working on this this specification for the last, I don't know, at least 6 months already. The specification itself is we don't have like a JSON schema or anything like that yet. What we do have is essentially a Google Doc of what we want to build. And we've been working on that for months and months and months. And it's become evident that this is not going to necessarily be in Cyclone. This really needs to kind of live as its own thing. And that's really what this proposal is all about.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, given that like funding needs are something that all packages would potentially need, but SBOMs are definitely not.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if anyone is curious, this is the Google Doc that we've actually been operating out of for the last 6+ months. So there are a lot of historical things in here. All the use cases are defined. We even have a glossary as well as a taxonomy. We've been spending the last couple of months just on defining the taxonomy of different kinds of non-funding needs that open source projects might assert that they require. So definitely go through this if you haven't already. But I'd really like to incorporate this work into TG4 if possible. We have a lot of promotions to go through. I don't know if we're going to have time to do all of them. We will try. I don't want to necessarily rush them either, because I want to make sure that everybody is kind of understands what these things are and is comfortable with the proposals set forth. The first one is fairly simple. We're adding custom properties to external references. It's a fairly small change. And again, external references are basically like pointers to other things inside the BOM or to external like URLs. Either one is applicable. This basically allows you to have the name value pairs as part of the external references. That's really all this is. So it's a fairly small change. This is an example of how that would actually work. So you have an external reference. This is the type, and then this is the new thing that we're also now allowing in the external reference. So you can describe a little bit more about this thing through the properties themselves.
I've been waiting for this for a long time, Steve.
You're welcome, Matt. I like your Zoom background. Are there any objections or any questions to this proposal? Okay. Jan, this has passed. let's go ahead and continue on with the merge and whatnot. License expression details and properties. I remember what this one was about, actually. Jan, can you maybe walk us through this one if you could?
Sure. Just give me a second. Need to write things down regarding the thing we just passed.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, this one is the license expression details and properties, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this change is based on 2 requests. Could you just maybe go to the conversation? This is the
Sorry, you said it
initial-
was based on what?
on 2 requests. Let's review them. The ticket 549 and the other one, and yeah, this is basically the things that we tried to achieve was
Right. So the problem statement here is that we historically have supported SPDX license IDs or license names. And when you did either one of those, you could actually provide the full text of the license itself in line if you wanted to. You could also provide an SPDX license expression, but when you did that, you were prevented from actually including the text of the licensing. Is that correct, Jan?
exactly.
Okay, so this was a gap that exists in the specification, and this proposal is to fill that gap.
Yep. So we discovered that an SPDX license expression consists of multiple parts, and every one of these parts could have an own license text. Not a template, but an actual text like MIT license goes with copyright, yada, 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 and then there comes this usual text. So it could be that your expression is multiple MITs, so you would have multiple texts regarding that MIT's part, but just one of the many GPL3 or later texts. So we needed to make it possible to have multiple texts for individual parts of an expression, meaning we had to have a way to tell which part of the expression is actually the target of a text, and we could have doubles. So these were the challenges, and I think we solved them.
So let's look at an example. What would be a good example that we can maybe go to?
There are several with expression with licensed texts is usually the.
So
good
do we have,
start.
maybe I'm missing, are we showing the proposed schema change? Are we showing it anyplace?
Well, the schema, keep in mind, is an implementation of the standard, but
Yeah, that's always, schema always helps me understand what, because that's
Yeah.
gonna be canonical means for validation, so. I mean, I just want to, so in my mind, looking at the one of schema now and understanding it very well and having written an interpreter for the BNF grammar, which is very painful. Are we proposing taking to basically recurse a little bit and reuse the schema for general license, a license by itself with the BOM ref, ID, name, acknowledgement, text, URL, licensing, and properties? Are we going to make that a optional, multiple or array or that's available for under license?
this is why diffs are not overly useful. This is actually part of 1.7 already. Yeah. So this is all the commercial licensing support. So I think what Jan did here is just make this, you made this a definition, correct?
Yep, I had to,
Okay.
since our schema was pretty cluttered, I had to refactor things to make them reusable, and then I actually introduced new types because the types we had already were not extensible anymore for JSON schema, but for XML they were, and so in the end, you won't be happy with the schema because it's a large change to implement just a little feature. So,
Yeah, I mean, if we could net out the net out the schema, what it looks like, because of anything that impacts downstream tooling most is this complexity around licensing. So I'd love to see the net result and whatever the friendliest form may be.
Well, keep in mind that JSON schema is an implementation of the standard.
That's
And
fine.
we're only concerned in this group with the actual standard itself.
That's fine. What I said, whatever the simplest form is.
I think
Probably the examples.
the examples and the protobuf is probably the most simplest because protobuf has no rules, it's just text.
Right. Okay, so you got this new thing called expression details. So you got the expression and then you got expression details, right?
Yeah, exactly. The expression identifier, we've read through all of the SPDX and license expression docs and found that they call it detail identifier. So we chose the same wording. We have license identifiers, multiple license identifiers form a license expression. So we have now this data set where we have this license identifier and have optional additional information to it, like
Am I misusing Zoom, or are you showing an example that we can see, Jan?
Yeah, there are multiples of them.
I must have lost the screen sharing part of Zoom. Sorry.
Yeah, so if we look at this one, so this one has got some commercial licensing. So this is an example of an expression which then actually has commercial licensing. Okay, so that's fills that gap, right?
Yeah, actually, that's one of the many features that we didn't have yet. For example, everything that starts with license ref could be an SPDX expression.
Right.
So now we have the ability to add text to that. And we should have a very complex one here. Yeah.
Yeah, this one's nice. Okay, so
That's
this
a
is
beast.
this is a combination of a custom license as well as some open source licenses. So that's the expression. Here's the details about the expression. Oh yeah, this is good.
So I was looking at we chose to take parts or fields from the general license information schema like text, URL, and stuff like that. Is there a reason we didn't also take properties and acknowledgement?
I think this is another case, and we will review an example for
I'm
that.
just saying it seems like for completeness that if you're able for a single license, a single SPDX license, you have a robust set of fields where you can do acknowledgements and properties and many things, which includes things you extracted here, text and URL. Why wouldn't we, for a nice expression, which is basically, a logical expression of these IDs, allow the same set of fields to be available in the details for those as well?
We do.
So right. So you do allow, so the way you refactor the schema, you do include everything, like you include bomb ref, name, acknowledgement, text, URL, licensing, and properties. I'm just going through the online.
Yep. I think not everything, because some things don't make sense for the individual parts, like licensee and stuff. So it's
Gotcha.
good, yeah. But most of the parts are actually factored down.
Is the complex licensing also included?
I think not, because licensing for yet just a part of an expression is just not a thing. You have to accept it as it is, as complex.
Okay, I can buy that.
But if this is a feature that's required, it would be pretty easy to add it in.
No, I think thinking about it though, if license expression is limited to the SPDX specification, which it is, it only counts for SPDX IDs, so then licensing is overkill. So I agree. So
Yeah, this is nice, Jan. You did a good job, and I think the refactor that you did kind of made reviewing it a
very
little
sweet.
bit complicated, but I think that's okay. I think we've got through it.
So just to affirm, you do support properties as well.
Yeah, we added properties as well. So we added the ability to add all the text information,
I
and
should know
home links and properties. Yeah.
I should know you're the best, Jan.
All right.
Actually, I wouldn't have done it if the community didn't ask for it. So it's their fault.
Yeah, this has been, all these things that we're reviewing have already been out for the community review. It's required for at least 30 days. And in our case, I think it's been closer to 60. So with that, good job, Jan. Is there any objections to approving this proposal and moving this forward? Congratulations, John. Let's go ahead and get that merged in as well. The next one, I think this is a fairly simple one, right, Jan? This is adding TLP to the bomb itself.
Oh yeah. This just has so we have this traffic light protocol, which was somewhere defined by people describing how sharing a document is intended, and we just implemented that. So now every CycloneDX document or data set or whatever you call it has the ability to tell how it's allowed to be shared. And the community decided to go with clear, which is as a default, meaning every document is just shareable for everybody, and there's no restriction on it per default. We had this discussion whether we should go with an undecided or something, but since we found out that it's natural to go with clear, so this is the thing they went. It's probably the only thing that's arguable. The other things are just implementing the spec that already existed.
Right. Let's look at some of the examples then.
I can add that this has real importance for supply chains with Transparency Exchange API, where we can actually mark things as approved for publication to a third party, or some things can be marked that this should not be revealed externally. So it's a really good addition.
Yeah. Yeah, so here's a JSON example. So you basically just have the distribution field, and then you have only the predefined values that we define in the enum. So here's the JSON, the protobuf, and the XML example. And the values are from the TLP specification itself, which are clear, green. Oh wait, yeah, clear, green, amber and strict, and red. And those all have predefined meanings, which are documented here. Very good, Jan. Any questions on this?
Go ahead.
All right. Let's do this, Jan. Congratulations. You got number 3. Let's go ahead and merge this and close that one down. All right. This one was something that I've been working on along with a bunch of other folks. This one's a little bit more in-depth. This is adding patent information itself to the specification. The idea here is that you can assert both the patents and patent families in the specification as well as your usage or declaration of these things. So let's first start with the patents and patent families. Let me go to the JSON schema maybe. Within the, there's a part of the specification called definitions, not to be confused with JSON schema version, draft 7 definitions. There's actually a thing in the CycloneDX specification called definitions where we add things like standards and requirements. Well, we're adding a new thing there called patents. And that is an array which can contain either a patent or a patent family. These things have, I should clarify that we've worked with very, very closely with WIPO, which is the Worldwide Intellectual Property Organization. They are a standards body that works with all of the international patent offices around the world. And they actually have some very, very robust schemas. And those schemas have pretty much been implemented in nearly every single patent office that we know of. And many of the terms that they use are well-known legal terms in intellectual property. So we did not want to reinvent the wheel. We wanted to provide summary information for WIPO specifications, as well as the ability to kind of link out to the actual patent offices themselves, and specifically the WIPO feeds that every single one of these patent offices have. A patent is a single thing. A patent family is that same invention, but applied to multiple jurisdictions, essentially. And so we're supporting both of those things. I'll come back to assertions in a little bit. We're also adding support for external references. So we're adding both patent, patent family, and patent assertion. This is how you use the patent. So we're adding external references for those. Let's look at patent first. So a patent has a description, it has a BOM ref, it has a patent number, and that patent number is always going to follow a certain pattern. Here's a few examples of different patterns in different jurisdictions. It's going to have an application number. It's going to have a jurisdiction, which is a 2-letter ISO-like code. It's going to have a publication number, the title, an abstract telling you what it's about. In all of our descriptions, you'll notice that we refer to ST96, which is the WIPO standard, and so that way, what we are asking for here is clearly defined, not to be confused with clearly defined. But these things, we're not reinventing the wheel. The filing date, the grant date, the expiration date, and the legal status, which is an enum of these things which have a definition defined here. The patent families, again, this is summary information. This is not everything about patent processes or anything like that. A patent family is going to have a BOM ref and a family ID. It's going to have a priority application. And what this is the first filing in a jurisdiction, regardless of that jurisdiction, so that you can correlate all of the other patents across all the other jurisdictions. The members are essentially the items, all of the individual patents that make up the patent family, is how this works. So we've got individual patents, we have patent families, which you can assert and you can assign. So for example, I can have a CycloneDX bill of material that says, this component has these patents. And I think we're going to get to that in just a bit. Oh, you use external references for that. So you use external reference for, so if you have a component, if you have a service, you can use BOM link to say this component has this patent. However, you also have the ability to assert your usage of of patents. And you can assert that you own a patent. You are licensing a patent. You have a third-party claim on that patent. Maybe you want to assert that this patent is, prior art or some other types of thing. But anyway, you could say in your bill of material, you can actually say that, well, I assert that I am the owner of this patent, and I'm using that patent in this component. You can also say that I am using this patent and I'm licensing it for this component. Okay, so this is really going to be useful for a lot of M&A type cases. And the next thing that we're going to be working on is the updating the authoritative guide to SBOM, so that we actually have an entire section on how to use the specification for these different use cases. So with that, I will stop and see if there's any questions.
I just want to speak in favor of this. I know that I pop into the work group on occasion, and it's good to see this work to come to fruition. And it's going to be very helpful in a number of cases. So
yeah, I agree. We've actually had multiple lawyers actually look at the validity of what we're doing here. Again, this is kind of outside of our wheelhouse. And we wanted external counsel to actually validate that what we were doing was accurate. And we've actually had WIPO themselves actually look at some of the parts of the specification where we just had questions because we didn't know. This is not our area of expertise. This is an example. So this is an example of a component. And then I am asserting, for example, that I own a particular patent. I own patent 1. And I'm asserting that the owner is this organization. And on this same component, I'm asserting that I am licensing patent 3, and this is who is asserting. And yeah, so you can say that I own one patent and I'm I'm licensing another patent, and they're both used in a single component. And you can do that on services as well. So here's an example on services. And then here's like what the actual patents would actually look like. So you've got the definitions. Other definitions, you've got patents, and all the relevant information. Are there any questions on this? This one was a little bit bigger than the other ones, but
Yeah.
it has been out for community review for over 60 days at this point.
And to be clear, you're not required to fill out all these fields, so you can just really reference the patent IDs and things like that. So it provides a lightweight mechanism as well as the full-blown mechanism to encode most of the important information in a bill of materials, which is important.
That is correct. One of the things that we did not want to replicate, the WIPO ST96 specification, which is incredibly complicated and covers all of the use cases for patents. We did not want to replicate the life cycle, because when you replicate the life cycle, then at certain phases in the life cycle, certain pieces of data become required.
And WIPO is
And
quite
we didn't want to
helpful.
do any of that. We want it to be summary information only.
Yeah.
We don't want to recreate the wheel.
And WIPO is, very helpful in helping us understand all these things and making sure we're representing the right level of information in our bill of materials, and also educated us on how the standards evolved and how different countries support different versions of the standard. So I think we've curated the best of the best information. So
Yeah, I don't think there's any other. I don't think there's any other outside advice that we could have asked for to really look at the specification. With that in mind, are there any objections to promoting this and moving this forward? All right, I hear none. Jan, let's go ahead and mark this one as accepted, and let's get this merged in as well.
I think that from a marketing department point of view, we should make some fuss on LinkedIn and other channels about this. It's a interesting step forward for CycloneDX.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually on our public website. It says it's coming in 1.7, but I agree, we probably should. I think with our commercial licensing support that we have, with the intellectual property capabilities that we will soon have, I think this is really compelling for use cases that were never unlocked before, can now be unlocked.
I had some discussion with a large company here in the telco market, and they didn't understand that this was for both internal use, and if they wanted to for external use, they were afraid to expose all this information externally. So when informing about that, I think we have to somehow involve that way of thinking, that this is really, really helpful internally, but may also be helpful externally.
Right. We actually discussed that last week, and we discussed it a couple of months ago as well. When we're writing the authoritative guide to SBOM, the new section for that's going to include the patent information, we're going to do it in a very, very similar way that we describe how to link to VEX, because VEX is typically a separate document. And what we believe is going to happen is that most folks in the legal profession will likely want the patent information to be externalized from the bill of material, and will likely want different levels of access control on that information. So our framing of this is that while the specification supports it, and you should absolutely take advantage of it, you should do it in a way that uses external references so that you can decouple the two things and have more fine-grained control over the legal aspects.
And now we have a combination of TLP as well, which will make them feel very comfortable as soon as we have implementations for that. So
right, you could theoretically have your SBOM as TLP clear and your patent information as TLP like amber or something.
Yep.
That would be a valid use case.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, we've got 10 minutes left. Jan, did we ever get this one fleshed out? This was the changes to licensing. I think you worked with Philippe on this one after the last meeting.
Yep, we don't have a conclusion yet, but still we had a discussion call with multiple experts, external invites, and some others. And we found that this thing is really useful, but anyway, Philippe was still concerned that it would introduce things that it couldn't understand, some friction or opportunity for mistake, which I didn't understand yet. So we decided to add yet another feature or change request, which is not connected to this one, but to yet another thing that Philippe was really concerned about. In the end, I would say let's not talk about that today and just move
Okay.
it to the next meeting.
Okay, do we want to then, so you're working on just so I understand, you're working on something else that's related to this, that's,
Exactly. So
okay,
let's see. So Philippe was concerned that licenses in CycloneDX would become so messed up that nobody would understand or use them at all. So he proposed to introduce a thing that we don't have yet, which would bring a rule, a breaking change from my side, from my perspective. It would introduce a rule that you couldn't have more than one declared license, and you could have more than one concluded license, which in fact doesn't make any sense in most of the ecosystems, but that was his solution. Since, yeah, I don't understand.
okay.
It's exactly the thing that SPDX has, and they introduced it with version 3 and nobody's happy with it. But,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so yeah, this is another ticket which might help to get to a state where Philippe is happy, even though it is a breaking change. So I still don't know.
Fine. So everyone knows, while we're currently working on 1.7 and that's the priority, I'm also simultaneously working on 2.0. So 2.0 is a major refactor, and it's going to be mostly compatible with 1.x. But there's some very important differences. One, we can obviously do breaking changes, and if we need breaking changes for licensing, that would be the version to do it. But the most important change is that it's modular. It's still JSON, and it's going to be, for the most part, JSON only. But it's modular. There's likely going to be around 20 or so schemas that's going to be compiled down to 2. Not 1, 2. And the premise of that is that you're going to have one schema for the bill of materials like we all love and know about today. You're going to have a different schema for the API. How to use the specification purely as an API. And this is really, really important because this is going to tie directly into the insights capability that we're working on with the Transparency Exchange API. So while we're simultaneously working on 1.7, we reviewed a bunch of stuff going for 1.7 now. I'm also working on 2.0. As part of that work, we are moving the threat modeling and the blueprints work into 2.0. These are really, really big features that take a lot of thought, a lot of energy to do. They're too big for 1.7. So I'm moving them both to 2.0. So I will not be providing any more updates on these until after 1.7 is released and 2.0 is our sole focus. The sustainability working group is, that's the thing that's ultimately going to be transitioning into TG4. We are at a point now where we're trying to get more and more people to the table. And I think we have a spec that is going to be inclusive enough and useful enough so that open source maintainers can actually put this in their Git repo and assert the types of things that they would help their project be sustainable. And the patents working group is, we are done with the specification at this point, and we're going to be working on the section of the SBOM guide to provide information on how to use it effectively. Ole, did you want to give an update on TG1?
I updated some text in the notes just to remember. We are shooting for standardization to start next year to be ready in April for the midsummer general meeting in Ecma. We're now at beta 1. We're working hard to finalize beta 2. We're planning to have a virtual hackathon after summer holidays or during summer holidays, depending on where in the world you are. So the plan is to around Christmas release something called 1.0. But we're making a lot of progress. We're seeing the first implementation, the first codes. So we are very happy with the state of where we are today.
So this group should likely receive something from TG1 at or before April 1st then, right?
We should start then to run formal meetings and start writing easy script specifications. Absolutely.
Okay. Quick update. Thank you all. A quick update for TG2, and I'll let Jordan update us on TG3. Update for TG2. Pearl, it's going to be tight, but currently we think we can make the September 1 timeframe to be able to present to TC54. Have time for us to review that, and of course get that promoted to the Exicom for the December GA. We think we can make it. If not, we might elect to do an out of band and not wait until June next year. So we will see. Jordan, do you want to give us an update on TG3?
Yeah, sure. So things are proceeding well. We're also aiming for a candidate for September 1st so that we can go through all the steps to get it to Ecma in the December GA. We have a few specific issues to work through and figure out before we get to that point. Happy to go into more detail if anyone is interested. The TLDR is actually, I don't have a TLDR prepared, so I'll just leave it at that unless someone has questions.
Well, we also have a conversation scheduled with the OASIS Open EOX.
Yeah, that's right.
As well, right?
Yes, that's right. So Benji and Steve and I will be meeting with the Open EOX folks at OASIS in the next week or so, and with the desired goal of either finding out what we're missing, finding out what they're missing, and or trying to minimize the translation difficulty between the two formats.
No, I think that cross collaboration is really important. So yeah, no, this is good. All right. We only have 2 minutes left, but is there any topics that people want to bring up?
I would say a big thank you to Jan for all his work with the specification and preparing all these issues.
For sure.
I'm really grateful for the work done.
Jan is a machine. He really is.
Yeah. We're
all right.
planning
With that,
Jan, are you real or are you an AI, Jan?
No.
Can I? Do you have like a LoRa adapter for yourself? I can plug into my LLM.
Not specified, I guess, but we can work on that.
Awesome.
But the difference is Jan does not hallucinate.
Oh, I do.
That we know
a
of.
critique for that.
All right, very good. Good call, everyone. Congratulations, Jan, on all the promotions. So let's get those done. And it sounds like the TC is going to be busy September 1st. We're going to have package URL. We're going to have CLE, possibly CycloneDX 1.7 at that time. So there's going to be a lot. There's possibly 3 specifications to review September 1st-ish. A little bit lighter next year, but yeah, good call, everyone. with that, have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to everyone soon.
Sorry,
Cheers.
I had a quick
Yeah.
update. I just wanted to let everybody know that Dennis just had his first baby, or his wife did. So he won't be with us for, I mean, he'll be here, but in New York, but he'll be out of the office for the next couple months, but for all good reasons.
Awesome. Congratulations, Dennis. I'll have to ping him on Slack.
Yeah, if you see him, I'm sure he'd be happy to share some cute pictures. They're very,
Awesome.
it's a little daughter, Ren.
Oh, cute.
Cute baby
Awesome.
pictures. That's the reason we built the internet. Hey.
Yeah, that and cat pictures.
Yes.
That makes the meeting worth it right there.
So good.
All
Good to
right.
see you all.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye all.
Yes.